The pH of my soil is too high. What can I do? How quickly can I replant after using cleanup? And finally, will using perlite actually make the containers for my plants lighter? Well, I've got answers to these questions and more coming up on Garden Sense. Hey everybody, I'm Tim Ward and welcome back to Garden Sense. Well, they say that April showers bring May flowers. Well, it's May 1st, so if you aren't seeing a whole lot of color yet in your landscaping, you really should start to see some here pretty soon. Now folks, we got a ton of emails last week, but we selected 5 for this week's video podcast. So buckle up everybody, let's jump right in. The first question is from Marilyn. Tim, I have shredded cedar mulch around my trees and I want to fertilize them now. Can I sprinkle plant trust over the mulch and then maybe water it in a bit? Or do I have to remove the mulch to put down the fertilizer? Hey Marilyn, thanks for the question. You actually want to rake back the mulch and then put down the fertilizer. That way it's going to actually be most effective and the plant is going to get the most benefit out of it. If you sprinkle it on top of the mulch, will some of that nutrition work its way down into the soil? Yes, but it's not going to be nearly as potent and therefore the plant is not going to be able to benefit from it as easily and as much. So what you want to do is just make sure that when you're raking it around, all you need to do is rake out from the base of the tree or from that bush all the way out to the drip line. That's where the application area is going to be for plant trust, and so that's the only part that you need to rake out. So rake it out to the drip line, put down plant trust, you can push the mulch back over it, and you'll be good to go. The next question is from David. Good day, Tim. I recently ordered the special that included the crabgrass control product. The instructions say to use it only on established lawns. My lawn was laid down last October. Can I still use it? I applied broadleaf weed control and turf trust, and the lawn is growing like crazy. So you are correct in that you can only use Dimension on an established lawn. But the real question is, what defines an established lawn? Well, according to the label on Dimension, it's any lawn that was established 60 days after seeding or longer. So the fact that you put down seed back in October means that you have an established lawn and you can safely use Dimension right now. The third question is from Vincent. Hi Tim, I have plants in large containers, which makes them difficult to move. My idea now is to fill the bottom half of the container with a light granular material like perlite or some other material to cut the weight almost in half. I figure the plants only use the top 1/3 of the container to grow in. I wonder how that sounds to you and if you have ever heard of something similar. So typically when you use something like perlite, it's because you want to improve the drainage properties of the soil, or you want to, reduce the likelihood of compaction. Those are really why you use something like perlite. So to use it strictly to reduce the weight of the overall pot and moving that potted plant around, I can't say that I've ever had that conversation with someone before, but logically speaking, that will happen. When you use perlite, it will actually make it a little bit lighter because you're replacing the heavier soil with something like a perlite, which again does weigh less. Now, I want to encourage you to not layer it, and here's why. First of all, you got to think about the plant's anatomy. I don't know what type of plant or plants that you are referring to in the large pots. I don't know if they're shrubs, I don't know if they're trees, I don't know exactly what they are, and therefore I don't know how their roots spread. But understand that some plants have roots that really like to drive down deep in the soil. Some have more that just kind of spread out horizontally closer to the surface. So without knowing that, what I would actually recommend you do is, instead of putting all the perlite on the bottom and the soil on top, mix the perlite in the soil. And this is going to accomplish 2 things. First of all, if you do have a plant that likes to drive their roots down before they really spread out, it's going to not just hit a layer of perlite, but it's actually going to continue down through the soil and spread out. So it's just going to be better for the plant. However, also by doing this, you're actually going to be taking advantage of a lot of the benefits that perlite has to offer. Mainly, it does make the soil a little bit lighter and more airy, so there's better circulation, and it's going to improve the overall drainage, and therefore the soil is not going to get as compact. So again, I would not layer it. I would actually mix the perlite in. And again, I'll be honest with you, I've never heard of someone just making this switch solely to reduce the overall weight of the plant itself in terms of when they move it around, but it does stand to reason that that would actually work to some degree. So good luck with adding perlite to your plants, and I'd be really interested to hear how the results are. The fourth question for today is from Sally. Hi Tim, I have a huge mulch bed waiting to be planted, but no matter what I do, I could not get rid of enough weeds. For years, I have put down pre-emergence gallery and or dimension, covered the soil with landscape fabric, etc., to no avail. The bed was cleared and mulched a week ago, and the weeds are already over 3 inches tall. Help! If I spray cleanup on the mulch, how soon can I plant annuals and perennials? Well, I'm sorry to hear about all the troubles that you're having with your garden, but I'll be honest with you, sometimes these weeds just simply get so established that you really just have to try to kill everything in the garden and start fresh. And it sounds like that's what you're trying to do. Now, cleanup is a really effective product and should definitely aid in that overall process. The good news is that according to the label, cleanup can be used and that soil can be replanted in after 24 hours. Now, I'm typically a little skeptical of claims like that. Again, is there any scientific reason for me to be skeptical? Probably not, but that's just my personality. That's just my skeptical nature. So truthfully, what I would do is I would spray it down with cleanup and I would wait more than 24 hours. Maybe give it a couple of days just to really watch it working. And then frankly, what I would do is I would try to physically pull out as many of those dead and dying weeds as possible. Then I would go ahead and replant. The final question for today is from Roger. Tim, latest soil tests indicate a high pH of 7.3 and growing. How do I adjust and keep a good pH for my lawn and flower beds? I use Turf Trust starter fertilizer, Kickstart, 4 times a year. So a pH of 7.3 isn't terrible for your lawn, but again, it is on the higher side of the pH scale than where ideally we would want it to be. Now, in terms of your gardens, depending on the plants, 7.3 could be too high. Now, I do realize that you mentioned in your email that it is growing, and through some additional communication that we've had, you have said that it has steadily been increasing. So the way to drive the pH down is to actually introduce sulfur into the soil. Now, we don't currently carry it, but a product that would be pretty effective in helping you out is called high yield iron sulfate. You can use it for your lawns, you can use it for your garden, and again, it's really designed to introduce a little bit of iron, but ideally is that sulfur into the soil to help bring that pH down over time. So again, this is a pretty popular product. You can find it online relatively easily. As I said, we don't currently carry it, but again, this is what I would recommend putting down right now to help get that pH headed down in the right direction. All right, folks, just a couple final thoughts here before we sign off. Folks, again, it's May 1st, and we really need to start thinking about what we're doing in terms of our flower gardens if we haven't already started, when we're going to actually put down our vegetable gardens, if that's your sort of thing. So again, I want to remind everyone that right now we have the Spring Garden Special going on over at rosensonline.com. This is going to give you 3 bags of Garden Trust, a bag of Plant Trust, and a container of Kickstart. All 3 of those products are going to be vital to the health and well-being of your garden this year. So head over to rosensonline.com, take advantage of the special price, and it's going to qualify for free shipping. We're only going to offer this for a couple of more weeks, so make sure you take advantage of it right now. Folks, as always, if you have questions, whether you just need some help immediately or you want them to actually be aired on this program here, make sure you send an email over to tim@rosensonline.com. It'll come directly to me. And again, give me a couple of days, and if I receive it, I promise you that I will reach back out to you. Folks, thank you so much for spending this time with us today. We really appreciate it. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the week. God bless.